Hey you guys, Destiny here, back with another video. And I wanted to quickly do a refresher video on the pros and cons of being an associate agent for Redfin. So let's jump into it. So my channel is pretty much dedicated to talking about all things Redfin, associate agent related. And most of the time I address pretty much all of the positive aspects of it. I think I've thrown in maybe some cons here and there, whatever, but I wanted to give you guys a clearly defined list of a lot of the pros and cons that I've experienced in my almost 2 years working as an associate agent. So hopefully, whether you're looking into this role or whether you are a fellow associate agent and you just need somebody to just relate to or kind of confirm some of the things that you've experienced out in the field, this video is for you. With every con, I will state the con, but I'll also kind of state how I have begun to look at that con to kind of make it a positive. So it's going to be like a silver lining video. So yes, there is still some straight up cons, but I've grown to find a way to kind of flip the switch on it and make it so that I don't feel like it's that big of a deal or whatever, and therefore making my job a lot easier. First con, and definitely a positive, is that you are an independent contractor. That means that you do not have anyone telling you what to do or when to do it other than whatever you are contractually obligated to do. So therefore, you don't have any benefits and you also don't have a safety net, which is why I am currently working my butt off to save and fully fund our maternity fund or our baby fund, because as an independent contractor, you do not have that safety net of maternity leave like you would have as if you were an employee. However, I definitely feel more in control of my career, of my schedule, of what I make. So in that aspect, that is a con turned. Next up, I run into this a lot, especially when I am in a CE class and, it gets brought up about the newer real estate tech firms and things like that. Honestly, traditional agents just don't get it. They're either very disgruntled about Redfin, Zillow, Open Door, OfferPad, all those AI companies, or they are curious and intrigued. And therefore, I try to just use every opportunity to educate and just speak fully transparently. And I feel like this industry is well versed enough where there is room for everyone to sit at the table and everyone can get, a piece of the pie or whatever. And so a lot of times traditional agents, they just don't understand it. They have a bad taste, when it comes to dealing with Redfin agents, and it's primarily because it's something different in an industry that has literally been the same for far too long. Been a lot of time trying to explain exactly what I do, and then other times I'm just like, well, you know what? Let's talk about cancellations, okay? So I would have to say confidently, 87% of my tours, if they are on my calendar, they happen. However, that other 13% is usually made up of cancellations and or no-shows. So that is a con, especially if you are counting that money, especially if it happens after 5 or on the weekend when you are really expecting that prime time touring rate. That can be a big deal. However, this is also a pro too, and something that you wouldn't get as a traditional agent. One, we get paid to show up. That's first step in what we do is we get paid to show up. Of course, all the other things we get paid for as well, exuding customer service, being knowledgeable, being an expert in our area. But whether I started to look at this like this, whether the customer shows up or stands me up, either one, I've gotten paid more than what I would have gotten paid if it wasn't on my calendar or had I not shown up or whatever. There are times where my tour will qualify for a cancellation fee before I even leave my house. So it's very rare that I will be en route or show up to a home and the person will cancel or they will either no show. Those do happen. However, it doesn't happen as often as the homes that are automatically canceled by the system and therefore were automatically canceled with pay. And therefore, all I had to do was nothing, and I still got my cancellation fee. So I started to look at cancellations as not the end of the world, whereas before I would literally take them personally. And because I would be counting that money before, I actually completed the tour. But now I have a whole new perspective on it. So this kind of goes hand in hand with cancellations. So along with cancellations, sometimes we have to deal with late folks, okay? And it's just a part of life. It happens. I hate being late. I hate showing up late anywhere. I make it my duty to show up 15 to 30 minutes early to any and every function. Is literally a benefit to having high functioning anxiety. But when you have a booked and busy schedule as an associate agent and your customer calls and says, hey, I'm running 15 minutes late, which really translates into 25 minutes, you have two choices. So you can just say, hey, no problem. We have a 30-minute, 45-minute window anyway. Our showing time is good from this time to this time. So as long as you get here by here, and as long as you're okay with only having 10 minutes to tour the home, then fine, I'll be here. Because in my head, that time is accounted for anyway. But if they are running late and they are about to miss their appointment window, definitely set the expectation that, hey, unfortunately, we will have to cancel this tour and reschedule because we only have the home booked for 15 minutes, or because I have another appointment that I have to get to, and unfortunately, I won't be able to accommodate a late showing, or something along the lines of that. Keep in mind that they have received, not only did they pick the time, but they have received confirmation not only by the system, but usually by the associate agent, confirming at least 2 hours before the show time that, hey, we are still on for our tour. I'll meet you at this address and I'll meet you at this time. And most of the time, they agree to that time. So therefore, if they show up past the time that they are supposed to show up, you do have options that you can give them, which is stick around and conduct the tour as long as it stays within your window of time, or you can cancel and have them reschedule. Please keep in mind, again, that would be considered a like a no-show, where they did not show up on time, or they showed up thought that they were going to be able to show up after their showing window, and therefore you would qualify for a cancellation fee. All right, this next con, I won't lie, my first year in, this definitely affected me more than it does now. Now I really don't care. But this job can get very lonely. It's just you in your car meeting up with a bunch of different customers that you really don't have enough time to make a connection unless you tour them multiple times or whatever. But as far as like teammates go, you really don't have that opportunity to form a bond unless you put in that extra effort. I have like a little group chat that I kind of check in every now and again. So team building and just kind of having that social setting of working closely with other agents, then this may not be the role, or you might find some challenges or difficulties to adjusting to strictly working by yourself. However, when it comes to support, we do have a support system in place. We have what's called CRAs. Those are our go-to people when we have questions, questions about certain tours, how to, handle certain things. If anything comes up in the field that, we need to bring to I guess like a higher up or whatever, then that's what they're there for, and they will give us information. They might clarify something within our contract or whatever. We also have the tour hotline. Again, these are not like your buddy coffee people. These are like, hey, I'm running late, I need backup or whatever, or hey, is there any chance that you can split this off or add this to my calendar or whatever? So you have support in that way. But as far as socializing goes, not much in this world. Okay, so taxes. I don't even, so last year's taxes, I don't know. It is literally only by the grace of God that we got out of that without really owing a lot. And I think it's just because I tracked every single penny and I tracked every single mile. And those miles definitely add up along with those classes and memberships and branded gear, all those things. And so I'm just going to kind of rinse and repeat that. But taxes go like, I still don't quite understand it. So therefore I leave it to the professionals. But that is a con. You don't have income taxes coming out of your paycheck. However, you get to bag all those coins all year long. And as long as you are properly keeping track of your write-offs and saving, then I think you'll be fine. Let's talk about showings in sketch neighborhoods. Now, you would never vocalize this out in the open to anyone, but I am vocalizing it to you. There are some neighborhoods that I just will not work, whether they are way out in the country and no phone signal, or the house is like 2 acres deep back on the property, or whether it is in, an area that I wouldn't feel safe in, as far as like walking in the evenings or whatever it is. Sometimes you get those homes that are in those areas, and you know what? Unless you feel like you're in imminent danger, you're contractually obligated to show that home. Now, I have canceled some homes because the house was dilapidated, like literally leaning or falling over or has mold or something like that. In those instances, and if they just so happen to be in sketch neighborhoods, I will cancel that. But other than that, we are obligated to show those homes. Any homes that we are scheduled for that is within our service region, we are obligated to show those. But the pro about that is that you have full control over your service regions. You can flex out your areas. You can exclude certain zip codes or areas. There are certain counties that I just will not tour in because they are extremely racist. So just to kind of put it out there. So I just reached out to my CRA and had them remove one of those counties off. And it's just as simple as that. If you go and you get a bad vibe about an area, then you can always go in and make that adjustment because you are your own boss. Speaking of areas that I don't tend to work often, it would definitely have to be the downtown, uptown, midtown areas, whatever you call it in your city. And it's primarily because of the parking situation. There were times where I would be showing multiple condos and areas, and the next thing you know, I looked up and I was $15 deep in parking fees. Or if the customer showed up late, then I was running back down to go feed a meter. And finally, it got to the point where I was just like, well, this area really isn't worth it to me, and therefore I removed that zip code from my flex areas or from my areas that I would service. And also, keep in mind that you can also flip that. So you can flex it so that you only work in the uptown, midtown, downtown area, especially if you live close by, so that you can park your car one time and you can tour, and the walkability is much higher in those areas. And especially, I've had it a couple times where on the weekends, I would get 2 separate customers that were touring in the same building. Therefore, I leave my car there, take one to one unit, wait about a half an hour or whatever, take the other one to the other unit, and it made sense in that moment. So a lot of people will view this as a con, but I'm going to show you how it's a pro. So we do not get paid commission. We get paid on the front end. We get paid for our knowledge, expertise, as well as customer service, and we get paid essentially for showing up. Some people view that as a con. I personally do not. I do not like writing contracts. I do not like bidding wars. I don't like difficult conversations. I do not like having to deal with, I can do a whole Dr. Seuss book on what I do not like. I don't like the whole follow-up or the cat and mouse chase type of deal of trying to earn a paycheck, honestly. I much rather take my upfront fee. I much rather deal with a customer for 15 minutes to a half an hour of my time. That is just preferred, like how I prefer to work. I don't want to wait until after closing with fingers crossed and all this anxiety to see if a home is going to make it through inspection or make it through closing or whatever it is in order for me to obtain a paycheck. So commissions, not receiving a commission for a home that, somebody walks in, falls in love with, and literally took no effort at all for them to want to go in a contract. It used to bother me when I first started. I was like, man, I could be getting a piece of that pie. Then I went over to the lead agent role and saw, I really don't want this pie. Y'all can have it back. I will take the crumbs, and I will take the peace of mind, the work-life balance, and just my mental health any day. And so to me, not obtaining a commission for homes that I show and that go under contract is not a big deal. It's not a con for me. So to kind of just recap all of the pros that I have, all of the cons that I've made into pros, again, and to add a few on, we get paid regardless. We are our own boss. We set our own schedules. We set our own financial goals. We set our own areas of places that we want to work. So our service regions, we have a work-life balance. Now that can get out of whack if you allow it though. And, it just makes goal setting so much easier for me as a real estate agent. I'm able to utilize my license and only take part in the parts of real estate that I enjoy, which is meeting people and showing houses. Last but not least, but once I close out a tour, I am done with work. That means, and I typically, unless there is some sort of nuanced follow-up work that I volunteer myself to do, like send disclosures or something like that, I typically will sit in a driveway and close out my tours before I walk in the house. And in that way, I am not bringing work anywhere inside of. So I hope that this updated, refreshed list of pros and cons of being a Redfin associate agent is helpful, especially if you are looking into this opportunity, or if you are, currently in AA and you just, need something to resonate with or whatever. I actually got a comment. I'm going to try to find it and post it. And that's actually what inspired this video. And so I thank you guys so much for your comments. They're actually just really good comments and great questions and great perspectives. So I really do appreciate them, and please keep them coming. And if you like this video, please thumbs up, subscribe, send to a friend. I mentioned it before, there's so many opportunities within the real estate realm. There's enough room for all of us, and I'm just so appreciative to work for a company that's just so innovative in finding ways to make room for agents who don't fit the mold, who don't want to, squeeze themselves inside of a box. So until next time, thank you so much for watching. Peace.